What is happening? Happy Saturday, New York Jets Nation. Combine still rolling. We talked about the receivers, who was burning, who was running slow, why it kind of mattered, but kind of didn't. Now we got some running backs and some offensive linemen to talk about. I want to start with offensive linemen in this video because I've been leaning towards edge at 4, hoping Tibbs is there, even considering Karlaftis, although I'm not loving that he skipped the combine. But I'm really excited about the idea of either Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu falling to us at 4. I'm really excited about both these guys. And before I talk about each of these players and why I love them, let's talk about offensive line in general. Obviously, we know that offensive line is the foundation of an offense. We hear the term all the time, you have to win in the trenches, right? But if we look at just how true that is by the numbers, here are Pro Football Focus's top 10 offensive lines from last season. Top 10 grades as a team. Cowboys, Buccaneers, Niners, Eagles, Chiefs, Rams, Patriots, Chargers, Browns, Washington football team. So out of these top 10, 7 made the playoffs, right? Including our Super Bowl champions and some teams that found themselves in conference championships making late playoff runs. 2 of them were in the hunt. The Chargers missed out on the last game of the year. They're in one of the most contested divisions in football. And the Browns, if they didn't have that offensive line, I mean, it's amazing with how poorly Baker played, with how the defense underperformed, that they were still in contention for a playoff spot because of that offensive line. And then Washington football team, I was honestly surprised to see them on there. So I don't know what to say about that. But okay. So this is telling you if you have a top 8 offensive line, you're in the playoffs. If you have a top 10, 12 offensive line, you're probably in contention. I mean, this is just a no-brainer to me to focus on the offensive line after looking at this. And I know I like edge at 4. I really like edge at 4. You need to be able to protect your quarterback and get after the other team's quarterback. But if you look at the leaders in team sacks, you don't see quite the same correlation. You see a lot of good teams at the top, but it's not as cut and dry as if you get sacks. You're in playoff contention. The Bears were like top 3 in sacks. But offensive line, man, you're top 8. You're in the playoffs or you're missing it by a game. So I really think that needs to be a priority. And we're pretty close. Assuming Mekhi Becton comes back strong, which I think he will, we're looking at our only hole being right guard, and then we need some depth. So either way we go, Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu, I think it's the same game plan, but let's talk about each of these guys. Evan Neal, huge, 6'6 plus, freak athlete. I mean, that box jump for a guy that size, insane. Completely insane. Love Evan Neal. Ike Ekwonu. Now, I really wanted to see his official height and measurements because I thought he might be a little short and not have the arm length to necessarily play left tackle. But he checked out. 6'4" and some change, 84-inch wingspan, excellent footwork. That's per Sports Illustrated. So now that checks out that he could be a tackle at the next level and not necessarily an interior offensive lineman. So really excited about both of those prospects. So if Tibbs and Hitch are gone at 4, this is the direction I'm leaning. I was thinking about Karlaftis. I don't love that he skipped the combine, and I think he still might be there at 10. So I'm leaning towards Ike or Neal at 4 if the top 2 edge rushers are gone. And I know before you panic, they might have to play right guard their rookie season, but it is not the end of the world. I promise you, Jets fans. I promise you it is okay. Because let's think a couple years down the road. Now, next year, our offensive line, if we did this, let's say it's Ike, would be Fant and Becton as your tackles, Vera Tucker and Ekwonu as your guards, McGovern as your center. That is a top 8 offensive line. Absolutely, to me, that's a top 8 offensive line, barring injuries. Now, if you look at the following season, say if Fant wants to go get paid, now Becton and Ekwonu are your tackles, and now you're filling a hole at right guard, because filling a hole at guard is much easier than to fill a hole at tackle, right? It also allows you next season have so much flexibility if Ekwonu can play guard and tackle, and both of your tackles and Becton and Fant can play left tackle and right tackle. When guys are getting injured, you're just moving guys around to get the 5 best people on the field. So I really like the depth and the versatility with this move. And now, I'm not saying Ickey or Neal are an insurance policy for Becton because I have a lot of confidence in Becton coming back strong, but say we end up having to move on from Becton after next season, well, then you're going to pay Fant what it requires to keep him, and then have, again, Ekwonu take over the other tackle spot, and then again, you have to go ahead and fill that hole at guard. So either way, you're looking at being set with your bookend tackles, even if you have to either let Fant walk and move Ickey, or pay Fant, move Becton, and then you're sliding Ekwonu to tackle. Either way. So I like this move. I like this move a lot. Now, here's the one thing I'll say. If the Jets go ahead and pay a right guard, like if they go get Laken Tomlinson and like pay him $9-10 million a year, then I'm probably looking to change directions at 4. Because then your number 4 overall pick is a backup swing tackle, probably year 1. And I don't know. I think you might want to go a different direction at that point. I'm okay with them playing out of position year 1. I don't love the idea of them sitting for a whole year. So maybe then you're looking at, do you reach for Karlaftis? Do you bite the bullet and take Kyle Hamilton? Is there a team that wants to trade up? So it gets a little dicey there. So then you kind of have to plan free agency accordingly. So this is why I'm kind of a fan of maybe if you're not going to go edge rusher, that's my number 1 choice. But then if we're going to go in a different direction, then maybe you sign, LDT. And then if the edge rusher ends up being there at 4, so you have to go edge rusher. Now maybe you go with an offensive lineman in the 2nd round. And now you have a 2nd round pick competing with LDT for the right guard spot. I think we're okay there. I'm not saying plug LDT in and we're good to go. If we're just going with LDT, then we need to spend one of our top 40 picks on offensive line. Absolutely. And maybe 2 of them. Like maybe go guard and tackle in the 2nd round. If we do that, if we don't significantly upgrade in free agency. So I'm really excited about Evan Neal and Ickey Ekwonu. Which of these guys do you like better? Do either of them impress you enough to take them even if Tibbs is on the board? Let me know in the comments below, and go Jets.